Hey, good morning, my neighbors. Welcome to another. Oop, camera's not acting up. Come on. What are you doing, camera? Alright, there we go. That is I. It is your boy, JD the Great. Again, let me adjust this a little bit. Let me see if I can get a better angle on that. That looks a little better. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to another episode of BYTTT. Before you take a trade, if you don't know who I am your host, JD the Great. I look forward to kind of break down some things. As you know, I did say I wasn't going to be on today. Our season was over June 30th, but I got a couple things that I want to go over, which I won't stay too long, so that way you can go ahead and enjoy your trading. We will be starting our season over on July 14th. So let's go. Let's go ahead and keep it moving. All right. So the first thing I want to go ahead and break down is the fact that it's amazing what NQ has been doing, right? So the first thing you got to kind of realize when you're dealing with a ticker like NQ is that when it decides to move, it's going to move. Actually, one of my alerts just went off. Let me go check that bad boy out. Looks like, okay. Looks like we got silver doing a little bit of a move. This is my indicator updates. Let's go ahead and check out silver real quick since this one popped up. And what it does, it just lets me know that something is happening, suggesting a 2 hour. Let's see. Looks like we got a little bit of a sell-off, kind of a downtrend here. If you don't know, I love my trend lines, and there's no such thing as a downtrend unless there's a lower low and a lower high. So I guess this would be our lower high into the lower low, but this is a micro trend. Depending on how deep we want to go, let's just take this action here and see if we can find something. I would say, if anything, we got an uptrend here, so we're kind of wedging our action here. So if I was actually playing this, I'd probably be playing this. Maybe something, if I was going to be very aggressive, maybe something like that to a stop. Nah, not much risk to reward. Probably to this target, or maybe even try to take out this pivot here. Yeah, about a 2 to 7. 184, above 1.5. As long as it's over 1.5, I probably will be looking for a trade very similar to that. So that should be very interesting on what's going on with silver. So that just went ahead and released just now. But let's go ahead and get back to what I was saying about NQ. When we're dealing with tickers like this, NQ is one of the ones that you have to plan accordingly. You don't want to go ahead and set yourself up for the okie doke. And when I mean okie doke, it means do not just wake up at 9:30 in the morning and say I'm gonna play the New York session. This is something that you want to preview, right? And basically plan out your trade in its entirety. You don't want to kind of like shortchange yourself. You don't want to put yourself in a position that you might not be looking at the 4 hour, for example, and that's where all that resistance is there, and you're literally about to run right into a brick wall. NQ is one of those because it can get real volatile really, really fast, and you can kind of see what's happening here, especially when we had this whole entire drift down that happened right before 4th of July. So I think there's a couple of actions that's being placed in here. One, the fact that we had new highs, and then we was going into the holidays. So there's a lot of questions that need to be said about here. Now, did we just get up here for just the time being, just for a little bit of fun, or are we going to be holding this area in itself? It says live chat is not available. I can't see my chat. Yes. Refresh chat. Okay, there we go. All right, chats are up to date. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really concerned on exactly what's going to end up happening in that regard. So, I want to see, are we going to test the 50 moving average on this 2 hour? If I go over to the daily, this is what it looks like. We're getting a little bit of an inside bar as we're starting off. So there's a lot that can, what was it, Murphy's Law? Whatever can go, whatever can go wrong will go wrong, something like that. I might be butchering it anyways. So if I plan for, you know what, at the end of the day, this is an inside bar, so this might be an inside bar reversal. I can go ahead and see if they respect that. And if they respect that, then guess what? Then I can look at it in that regard and make my plans accordingly. But if I act like, oh, there's no way it's going to come down here and it's about me being right, then guess what? I'm putting myself in a world of hurt. The reason why I'm saying that is because when it comes down to it, and I've discussed this with my training community the other day, we was talking about something we talked about in mindset. And one of the things that I feel like is very important is that for you to become a profitable trader, you got to act like one. And how do you do that? You do not do the have, do, be, right? You got to have it before you can do it, and do it so you can become it. It's the other way around. It's be, do, have. Shout out to, I forgot where I got this from, but again, it's not my term, but it's a very, very interesting concept. But what I did break down is becoming the person that you plan to be. If you're going to be a profitable trader and you're going to go ahead and take off with this new brand spanking new quarter, this new half of the year, and you're going to go ahead and swing for the fences in the proper way, then that means you have to become that person first. You want to be a profitable trader? Start thinking like a profitable trader. You want to go, like, profitable traders don't wake up at 9:30 and start trading. They don't wake up and start charting. They chart the day before, the night before, or even a little, maybe a few hours before, so that way they got the whole entire plan. Do what it takes to be who you plan to be. If you plan to be a profitable trader, then think like a profitable trader. Do like a profitable trader. Become that person, and then have. Don't worry about it. And I tell this a lot of times to all my traders. You cannot think about the dollar amount. The dollar amount is the byproduct. So the have is the byproduct of your work ethic. Build a pattern, build a discipline in your work ethic. That work ethic you did to become who you plan to be. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do it the right way and not that backwards way that most people tend to do when they get into this whole entire trading realm, trading arena, right? So that said, let's go ahead and really dissect NQ. For the first part, I would say I want to see what we do with this trend line. You already know how I feel about trend lines. All it takes is 2 points, and it doesn't end up being a higher low until it makes another higher high. And you can see this is probably our higher low right here for that higher high. Let's go ahead and zoom in there. Inside of here, you could kind of see that we made some higher highs as well. We're away from the trend line, so this will be our deviation. That's our higher low that made that higher high, and we're looking for this to just continue to make that move the way it's supposed to. And if anything, we're going to wedge against the new high. We got a resistance right here. We got a gap down. We got all this action here. So I want to be bullish above 102, and I would be possibly bearish if we break under this 908. Granted, it's not a settled candle. They could just bounce it from here. So I'm going to put a secondary one just to be on the safe side. I would be very bearish. So think of it as I'll be partially bearish for the day. At about 908, I would be very bearish if that 827 starts to fail. All right, so let's go ahead and keep this party going. We got oil. Oil again. I warned y'all. Listen, if there's anything that I've done in itself is making sure that y'all fully are prepared on how the market is going to move. And I pointed out on the chart. You can see this. It's right. We have those rejection points for a reason. The market is going to do all it can to try to hide in this and dust off their fingerprints and all that, but they can't hide it, right? It's still going to leave some lingering residue. And you can see that in the chart that at the end of the day, oil is not coming down with any aggression. We are still riding this trend line. We are above the order block. Like, there's a lot of question marks that's going to be in place here. And my biggest question mark is, well, since you came back inside of this 2021 total range where we completely sold off, let me see how far it was, right? This is 2022, and there we are, right there. You came right back into this trend line. Why are you back under there? Well, they could be going under there because of the fact that, one, there is selling pressure. That is the fact, right? But when we don't break pivots and we don't break these levels, this tells me that new sellers have stepped into here. Until we get back up here with some relative strength, look what they did. They got up here. And again, it's all predicated to some of the war stuff and all this dialogue of everything else. There's a lot of aspects that you have to look in that regard, right? So oil is not looking like it's going to take out this level at any time. So I would love for a nice solid reset. Maybe get around that 57 to kind of scare that we're going to get real bearish. And then I probably would try to take out these areas. But until then, I am going to leave oil the way it is. All right, we got gold. Gold is solid. Again, I told y'all this that gold is having little trouble trying to continue on this upside, and it has its reasons, right? Because if you think about it, gold where it's been running and how it's been going up. Let me go over to a weekly, make it a little bit cleaner for y'all. This is a lot of wicks since the end of December 2024. That these weeks are just panning out, and then if you think about it, this was just a stopgap for what it was running from back here in October 2023. So you're talking about $2,000 gold to now we're at 3,300, almost 3,500. We're almost 200% up on gold. Like from that whole entire pivot, and I forgot what started that. It was I think it was like a war or something. I think it was the Hamas Israel crap that was going on, and that actually started that whole entire thing. And I think everybody piled into gold at the same time. That's what kind of led us to here. So with that whole entire run up, where do you go from here? I would say let it consolidate, let it give you some strong structure, let it reset some of the oscillators before you start investing into it again. If you want to take some day trades, I think it's giving us a lot of this bearish divergence type of playing, letting us know like, hey, we're a little bit spicy here. Yeah, you try to get up in here, but the only way the bearish divergence is going to play off, we might do one more spike. We might try to get that 3,500 one more time. And when we get to that 3,500, it's going to be some type of massive rejection, but it won't be as strong as the run from here. So just be conscious of that. All right. The next one I'm going to talk about is silver. I only chart silver because of the fact that silver usually drags gold all over the place. If silver starts to break down this trend and it starts to break out of this level, I'm looking for silver to continue down. You can see I already have a bearish state or a bearish order visualization to see, can silver actually come down to that level? I think personally that right now the commodities are going to be parked for a little bit. I think they're going to take some of the cash, they're going to throw it into the market, and then roughly around the Santa rally, we're probably going to get one of those pullbacks that go ahead and break us right on down again. So just keep that in mind when you're playing silver. Again, well, I'm sorry, I'll take that back. I tell you how to chart silver, not play silver. Just to chart silver so that way you can kind of know where your bearings are. All right, and then we got ourselves the British pound, right? British pound has been making these moves. I point out this level when we were last here, and I felt like they were targeting this area, which it looks like they did and got it. And I want to see what they're going to do with this and this. Again, these are Brexit levels, right? Has the British Union, what is it, British royal family, British something, I don't know, there's like we're a union here, right? They got some type of does the people across the pond have everything under control for the economy that brings valuation to their currency? I would say with the momentum that we have here, I would say it's yes, and that puts pressure on our US dollar, and that's the reason why you're seeing the US dollar being affected. And then we got itself ES. ES is continuing to make its higher highs. It's up here. I was having a nice little conversation with some people over on the trading floor, and I was like, well, you know what? I think that ES is trying its best. To give you a little bit of background, we played, I want to say it's 2021 or 2022. I think we've had this conversation before. But at that time, we was really racing to get to that 5,000. Hence, we had like 6,000 and some change. But when we was racing to that 5,000, there was a lot of speculation that we're going to hit it hard and then drop. Well, around that time, it stopped at like 48, 4,900. And we just had a year of just sell-off going into the end of 2022, starting with a little bit of sprinkle in 2023. Now that we're here, I think we might get that same type of reaction at 6,800. Just saying that we have the capability of not really hitting targets, especially when we talk about psychological level like 7,000, and not just hitting it flush. We might just get really, really close. It might be 6,500 for all I know. But at the end, if you plan accordingly, it should yield some results. You can see on the daily it's very exhausted. If we go over to the weekly, it looks like party just started on the MACD, but the stochastic is exhausted, needs some type of reset. But the monthly looks like this, but the stochastic is looking like it's going to continue. So that's why I'm looking at it that it's going to put in some type of bearish divergence on the monthly, and that's going to be its true pullback. So let's see what happens from there. All right, so now we got the Russell, and the Russell of course is at the mercy of what's going on with your NQs and ES. It is pushing up, which it's technically supposed to, and there goes my fibs and the levels. Let me get rid of this so it can be clear so I can see. But with the Russell doing what it's doing right now, it's basically like trying to figure out, all right, do we continue to this upside? Well, if it continues to upside, you got to get cash from somewhere. Are they going to get cash from the commodities, or are they going to get the cash from the larger caps? I think it might be the larger caps, but that's going to be probably pullback for the larger caps. And then Russell and NQ probably going to work a little bit hand in hand and probably move to that upside together. And as they start to move to that upside together, Russell's going to have a deeper pullback than NQ. So that is what I'm speculating. But again, I'm human. I'm not a fiduciary. I'm not a financial advisor. I am an individual that just loves looking at these charts. And talking about charts, if you go down below in the description, I do have my charts. And whatever charts that you want for me to pull up, I am doing a massive, mind you, I've been doing it for a long time for individuals, because individuals usually ask me like, hey JD, you know, I'm looking at this and looking at that. Can you do a chart for me so I can know where everything is? Some of them already know technical analysis, but they just want a second opinion. Some people, they just want the baby without all the labor pains. So I am putting a whole entire package together. Get it as low as $25 so that way you can go ahead and get a curated chart that has a whole entire trading plan and expectation where the market's going to go right down below. And if you don't like it and it doesn't work out, for those that actually gets this coupon, I will give you 100% of your money back. I do not care. Again, I already do it for some of my clients. No worries, no skin off my back, but I did want to extend something to individuals that are not part of my one-on-ones. All right, that said, let's go ahead and get back into the chart. The dollar looks like this, and the way the dollar is moving, again, I explained this to you. I was expecting a little bit more deeper of a pullback. We didn't get that. We had a shallow one, and it just made lower lows. But if you look at the dollar is telling us that it's ready to ramp its services back up. We got this bullish divergence that's like literally staring at it at this point, and I'm very curious on what's going to happen here, because there's one way that this could happen. If the US dollar starts to rally, that means July, a month that tends to be more of a bullish month, and it makes sense because February we were a little bit more bullish than we normally were. March didn't really pan out to its normal seasonality, and June is literally doing almost the same type of anomaly. So that said, we probably could get a nice little rally from the US dollar, and when that rally happens in the US dollar, we're probably going to get a nice little drop. You're probably going to get yourself a nice pop on British pound, and you're probably going to get some more commodities investment as people try to park their money and take money off the table. All right, so that's pretty much it. Actually, let's make it to 8:30. Let me give you all the way up into 8:30, and then I'll chalk the deuces. And then I think the next thing I want to kind of talk about, I want to talk about the news that's going to be coming up this week, and there's quite a bit that's coming, but let's be honest, at the end of the day, there's only so much that the market can probably do. If you don't know, I use my FX book. It's one of my favorites. You can go ahead and use whatever you like, but at the end of the day, my FX book is just easy for me to read. I just like it. It's just the way it is. All right. So let's bring this up. So Monday today, we have a few bill auctions, and we got a balance sheet that's coming. Very quiet for a Monday. Tuesday, used car sales. Again, we're starting off the month, so there's going to be some things that's going to be popping up, and those things are probably going to be something that's more on the monthly side versus some of our weekly stuff like jobs report on Thursday. So just keep that in mind. So there might be some additional volatility or pent-up frustration knowing that we just came off of a 3-day weekend when you look at it. So keep that in mind when you're getting into your position. Consumer credit change is going to be in play. API oil, this is going to have an effect on how oil moves. I think there's more downside on oil. We'll see. Mortgage rates, which everybody is very curious on mortgage rates because they want to see if the Fed's going to drop rates so that way housing can pick back up. Housing prices has been going lower. FOMC minutes is going to probably detail some of the stuff that was already discussed. We already know they're going to stay the same because they already went ahead and announcement, but the minutes is going to give us the details on what they discussed to come to the conclusion that they decided to do so. So you might want to check that out or stay out of your position roughly around 2 o'clock on that Wednesday, because sometimes people reposition on what the Fed talked in the meeting versus what he said last week. All right, initial jobless claims is going to be kicking in. You're going to get a Fed that's going to be talking, another Fed talking, 30-year bond auctions, mortgage rates, that's going to be in place. And then on Friday, we're going to get a monthly budget statement. So a lot of just interesting information that's going to be in there, but the one that's probably getting everybody's attention is more than likely your FOMC minutes. So just prepare for that. But before I get out of here, just want to go ahead and say thank you to a lot of y'all that do follow me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. If you don't have me follow, just go ahead and do JD the Great. JD underscore the Great, I should be specific, right? JD underscore the Great on Instagram. I'm going to start dropping a lot better content, something a little bit more curated and more pointed for individuals to kind of more dissected, because I know BYTTT can be a lot more taxing as far as the information, because I do spill it all out like a freaking fire hose. It's just a whole lot of information, but I am going to go ahead and go through some tickers because I just love watching the charts. Let's go ahead and get to it. Let's go here. All right, so we already know Netflix needs a little bit of a pullback. Well, here's the thing with Netflix pullback. When they got to 1300, I was like, holy crap. When I thought it was going to break down 1275 and probably get into that 1100, 1150, they reversed that. They got a lot of liquidity from folks, and I got a small loss on it, which is okay. Again, I'm in the business of trying to make money, and I'm going to take the opportunity that presented itself. But that pullback did not go far enough. But yeah, I would say right now, Netflix is in the middle of its pullback, and it looks like we're going to get a nice little fair value gap right here. We're going to see what happens there. Now, I am still in my meta. Now, the meta one, I do know I'm probably playing a little bit with fire, but this is why you have to scale in properly. It's a very, very small position. I'm anticipating it's going to get to $800, but it's going to take a lot of work for it to get to that $800. So I'm very curious on what happens with Meta in the near future. Let's keep this party going. We got ourselves Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin, I am staying away from, because I can understand the speculation of wanting to invest into a Lockheed Martin because of the war. But they're talking about ceasefires and treaties and all types of stuff. So I feel like this is a little bit of consolidation so that way people can get out of their position, because they thought that this war was going to be as extended as a Ukraine war, and it's not going to do so. So that's it. The Royal Caribbean is taking off, and I am highly upset with myself because I could have easily been in the Royal Caribbean. I saw this thing kind of coming right before we got under the 300. I want to say I drew this fib maybe 2 weeks ago. I gotta go find that video. I might do a video on this one. But yeah, nice solid setup. We're going into the summer. If you understand their seasonality, it makes sense for them to be up. But as violent of this upside, it is a little bit of surprise. So I'm very curious if Royal Caribbean can stick with that momentum and continue to that upside. I'm leaning on new. All right, let's go ahead and get into Tesla. 350 did not hold. 350 has been annoying. I wanted to see if they can fill some fair value gaps above 367. Can't get that. So right now, I think it just needs to cool down. Get to a certain level that actually invites investors. Right now, pre-market's down 296. I would say probably about 250. I know it's kind of crazy, right? 250 Teslas. Like, do we really want to see Tesla at 250? What does that say about the NQ and the rest of the market? Not saying it's powered by NQ, or it powers NQ, but it is one of the more technically inclined businesses that's out there. So I think this is the whole sector being affected, but Tesla is getting the brunt, and especially with Elon Musk and his fallout with you know who. I do like banks going into this season, so JPM is in my radar. TMUSA, I'm looking at this one. I really thought we was going to get a little bit deeper of a pullback, so this nice little bounce is solid, but I think it's only a retracement to go ahead and drop a little bit further, so I'm very curious on what happens there. Boeing, they got earnings on July 29th, so keep in mind, if you know, you know. Alcoa, now Alcoa is one of those, and I said this before, it's a Build Back Better, but oh, actually, I'll take that back. That's not Alcoa, that's Apple. Let me expand this. Look at that logo. All right, so this is Apple. Apple on that regard, I was looking for 213 months ago. Now it got to the 213, but it's down pre-market. I'm a little nervous on any more of the upside on Apple because what I think they're doing, they're trying to fill the gap. I don't think they're going to fill the gap. And what makes me pause about that is because if we go on a weekly, this is what it kind of looks like. So where's the takeoff? Why didn't we just get up to 221 by now? So again, I know we're going into new seasonality as far as 6 months. We're going to new season with earnings. We're going to new season with quarterlies. Like there's a lot of question marks here. So that it could be that people sit on the sideline and this is the breakthrough. But because they haven't showed anything that was dramatically innovative, I feel like this was the pop for all the shorts so that way they can get a better price. And then eventually it's just going to get shorted again. Looking for Apple to get under $200. 3M is solid. Shout out to the trading community. We played this bad boy from that 148 up to the 157, and I look forward to finding more setups just like it. This one planned out well. Starbucks is trying to get above that 95, which I am really looking forward to get above that 95 before I try to play to the upside. If you don't know, 95 is a very, very strong psychological level. Let me just go ahead and put this on here so y'all can see what I mean. 95. And if I just go ahead and scroll to the left, you'll see they use that as support, right? Support, and they kind of broke it through here, but support again, and again, and again, and again, and again. So I really am curious on this $95 price that if we close above it, I think we might rally on up. I don't know how far, because I think a lot of that CEO, because they just replaced the CEO in 2024, a lot of that CEO luster is off the table by now because he's doing good, but you can't miss earnings, right? Losing 15% on shareholders. You got earnings that's coming up in the middle of August, so there's going to be some question marks. I won't be surprised that this could be a nice little push-up just for them to get out of their position, and when they get out of the position, right before earnings is when we're going to probably see it under 95 again. So very curious. All right, so it's almost 8:30. Let me give y'all one more, actually a couple more. Citi, I am very curious. I want to see if this thing can get above $100. SoFi is doing its thing because it's just holding its base, but it can really use a pullback by now. There was a level over here. I did not anticipate that SoFi would come back. I thought it was going to pull back into like about 13 and then liquidate, but we did a lot more liquidating here. Amazon Prime Day is on tomorrow, so I want to see what this chart looks like. I'm a little upset because I feel like I was preparing for it, but this did not it's just very choppy. They didn't really give me a smooth move, so I didn't really care for it. Cybersecurity had a nice little pop. Shout out to Datadog for facilitating it. Look, I'm gonna zoom it. If y'all haven't subscribed, click that like button or anything else. I told y'all about Datadog from the get-go. I told y'all that it was going to happen. I told you it was right in this trend line. I told y'all there's a possibility that it could pop. There was no earnings. There was nothing. It was the laggard out of all the sectors inside of the cybersecurity place. I gave y'all PanW. I gave y'all CrowdStrike. I forgot about Zscaler, but I should have gave y'all Zscaler with it. And I said Datadog is the laggard. There's no reason for it to consolidate like this. And what it did a week after we started talking about it, it gapped up. I'm gonna look for that video and I'm gonna send it out to y'all so y'all can see where we break this thing down. It's not rocket science, I promise you. And no matter how you want to go ahead and flip it, back flip it, or whatever the case may be, these charts are going to tell you the story. And if you really want to know how to actually look at a chart, understand what the chart is telling you, and really understand the psychology of every individual that actually trades inside the market, click the link down below. My one-on-ones are starting back up again, and this is going to be starting, I think I have it till next week, a little after our season start. But again, I want to say thank you for being another individual that watched my videos. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button. And we're starting. So it's not the start of BYTTT. I'm still on my vacation, but I just wanted to go ahead and share this with y'all. But we're going to start BYTTT on July 14th. So I look forward to working with y'all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.